That is the coolest freaking window. It is like, it's massive. It's looking over. Is it fair to say, is that downtown Los Angeles?
Yeah. And when I sit like this,
Yep.
the light changes so you can see out my window. And then when I move around or take my glasses off, it adjusts. So for those of you that are sensitive to like strobe lights, I encourage you to not watch this.
You're about to get lit for the next hour, boy. I'm going to tell you, it's about to be a wild hour for you.
I'm not exactly sure. Is that Tintin Wilshire? No, that's on the other side.
Yeah, let's not give the cross streets. You know, who knows who's listening? I don't want anybody to show up at my front door.
Like, no. Tintin Wilshire is far from where you're at. Now that I think about it, I was going to move over there.
Remember, where that sports bar is near 7th, and I'm in that neighborhood. But it's like, I didn't remember this when I moved here. It was December 20. So the world was still shut down. So it was still pretty quiet. And then now that everything's back, I'm like,
it's lit.
It's crazy. Police helicopters constantly. I'm like, I think they're just playing tag. I think they're just playing tag. They're not really doing anything. But construction.
That sounds like the LAPD.
But the most important thing is we're continuing to book our trip here. We have a place to stay.
Yeah, we stay at Olivia's house.
You totally could. It's a gigantic apartment, which is why I'm really wanting to stay here and keep it even when I go back up to San Francisco. It's huge. Tons of space. We can have a party.
Yeah, bro. Weren't you supposed to move back up here like 3-4 weeks ago?
I sent you guys pictures. My house most of it has been moved, but I'm still like.
Are you having second thoughts? Like, are you just sitting in an empty apartment? Like, what are you doing?
I have some furniture. I'm still seeing a specialist, a health specialist. So I go in to see a doctor, like once a week, and I have a surgery coming up. And the work that I'm doing in San Francisco was pushed back a bit into May. So I'm not in a rush.
The work that we can announce.
Right. Not yet. But I'm not in a rush to pay San Francisco rent. So I had a place picked out there, but I let it go so I could stay here and figure it out. But this place is like, in San Francisco, this place would be like $15,000 a month, like easy.
Man.
So I want to, so I'm trying to stay here and maybe just commute. We'll see. I don't know.
I can't wait to Airbnb your Los Angeles apartment on the friends and family discount.
You wouldn't be coming here. You wouldn't Airbnb. Just like, hey, can we come? I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, because you still wouldn't have moved up here. That's probably true. Like, let us just bunk there with you as we prepare for WrestleMania next year. Eventful week.
Wait, what month is WrestleMania?
Beginning of April.
April.
Oh, okay. So like exactly a year. Okay. That can happen.
Yeah, no, it's literally a year. We're booking a year in advance. That's what we're preparing for.
That's a plan.
Eventful week for the Kings, though not necessarily surprising. Obviously, the season is behind us. You probably watched more Kings games this year than you ever have, and unfortunately, we can't scrub them from your mind. But Alvin Gentry gone, no surprise there. Coaching search starts, season's over. Any RIP thoughts for the 2022 Sacramento Kings season?
Well, I have to say, I've enjoyed getting to know the team, getting to know the fans. People have been super amazing to me, even in the chat when my glasses are making the visuals weird, and on Twitter. I love how passionate the fan base is, especially being disappointed year after year. You continue to be hopeful. And, I love people who are hopeful, because why run around in life being unhappy and expecting the worst? And in terms of the team, they had highs and lows, just like they do in the middle of a game. It's very amazing. And then it goes in the toilet, and the third quarter scaries. It's an emotional roller coaster, but I'm hopeful for next season. I think they've got some good pieces. I think what you have to say is we're beginning your coach hunt now, but hopefully they started that months ago and had those conversations with Alvin months ago in preparation. But I feel like the sooner they can lock down some of these things, the better, because when it's all over the place, it's madness. And I think it translates to madness on the court. Players don't know what to expect, and they don't know what's expected of them. So as soon as we can lock down these things, I think all of the new people who came in during the trade and who are staying, for those people who are staying, that stability will do well for them. at the beginning of the season, so we can start off doing well.
The key word
doing well.
Is the key word for the off season, guys, I think, is structure.
Structure.
I'm going to use that as De'Aaron Fox's word. Structure, Casey.
I agree. Did you see or hear anything from Sabonis, Fox, or Monty? As I think about it, those are the only three that talked this week. That encouraged you, discouraged you, worried you, got you hyped. Did you hear anything from them this week that stood out?
No, I think they all said the things that we expected them to say. I think they patted each other on the back and in an admirable way. Like, we're looking forward to what we're doing, putting the pieces together. We're hopeful for next year. So, they were staying on script. So they said everything that I thought they should say. And I like that De'Aaron called out Davion as someone who works really hard day in, day out. And I think it's great for a rookie to hear that from a leader on the team. It wasn't surprising. Again, I think even as fans, you likely weren't that surprised that the season turned out the way it did. Maybe it's worse than you thought. But I remain confident that some of the moves that have already been made are going to better position us next year. And then on top of that, the moves that are yet to be made will make it even better. So at stabilizing and building structure around these guys.
This isn't a Kings question, but I was going to bring this up with Kenny earlier, and I'd actually be more interested in your thoughts on this.
More
there
interested?
Are reports. Yeah. Well, yeah. Sorry, Casey. Sorry, pal. But you'll see why, I think, in a second. Mark Stein tweeted or wrote in his newsletter that there's a lot of rumblings that Greg Popovich might actually be back for one other season. But as you were reading some of the transcripts from last night from the San Antonio Spurs, there was a lot of talk about Becky Hammon, and Becky Hammon has headed to Las Vegas to start her gig as the WNBA draft just happened. So she's knee deep in her new job as the Las Vegas Aces. And with Becky now officially and completely out of the NBA, that coach that's a woman that everyone gravitates to isn't there anymore. And it's for whatever reason, it's always been built up. It was just one. There are other women in the league, but it was always Becky. It was Becky, Becky, Becky. And now that Becky's gone, do you think a new, I hate to frame it this way, but I'm starting to wonder if this is what Becky was. Do you think a token woman's name starts coming up in conversations? Or do you think there's a woman who will really be considered for an NBA job moving forward?
Man, I feel like it's a crapshoot. I do feel like a lot of times when there's a first, you focus in on them. They're the magic one, Becky with the good hair, whatever you want to talk about. Becky, Becky, Becky. She did really well with that team. The players on the team really loved her. And I would imagine the other women who are in the NBA have similar kind of relationships with their players, especially because of the position that they're in. There aren't very many of them. So they don't really have the room to suck, right? Like, you have to be the best or, considered the best or, one of those who doesn't have obvious flaws. When you're the only, if it's a woman, if you're only African-American, if you're only Asian, a lot of times you have that pressure of being amazing. You don't have that room to fail. And I hope another woman and maybe multiple women at once, so it's not the next one that's crowned.
That's right. It doesn't have to be one.
It doesn't have to be one. And then that pressure is kind of let off. I mean, there are a lot of crappy coaches in every league, and they continue to get hired and they get attempts or tries at another team. And with Becky gone, I hope other women can either step up and become vocal about wanting to have that kind of a role within an organization, or start, a number of them kind of work together and be vocal, because I do think it makes sense for them to start talking about it a little bit. So we understand who they are and their experience. And as fans, we can get behind them being hired.
Both of you guys can answer this question. I think me and Damien talked about it a little bit. Olivia, you definitely can let me know your feelings on it. And I hope this comes off the right way and you understand what I'm trying to say. But is it more important, in your opinion, to have a coach like Becky Hammon? And we talked about if Don Staley ever made a move, or, any of these other women coaches throughout college and high school. Is it more important for them to get an opportunity in the NBA or to go to the WNBA? And I say that because I think the WNBA needs growth. They need help growing. And you get somebody, Don Staley is the person that's in my head. Like if Don had an opportunity to go to the NBA and the WNBA, I feel like maybe she'd be the first woman coach in the NBA. It'd be impactful. But you know what I'm saying? As far as building that league up, maybe she's more important to the WNBA than she is the NBA.
Man, I think it's hard because we talked about this, I think last week, about how difficult getting people to embrace the WNBA that are they 25 years in, 26 years in, maybe?
26,
yeah, it's over.
And it's
27. No, 26.
It's really hard to still, get people to watch because of, I think it's really because of when their season starts. That's really hard. And Dawn Staley is building this name for herself, and she has been for years, but now as a coach in this role at South Carolina, for her to really cash in on the visibility, I would say go to the NBA. Like that's the thing that you want to do professionally is go to the main brand where you'll get more visible, and maybe you can pull up other women on your staff into that high profile organization. The WNBA definitely needs it. And I would, emotionally like, yes, let's build it up for women. But at the same time, the reality is the WNBA just doesn't have the fan base that, no league really has the fan base that the NBA has, or the NFL or anything like that. But it would take a unique person to want to sacrifice what she could be getting out of an NBA transfer versus and going to the WNBA. Like you have to find that person. Like I'm willing to not be that glorified and put in that position because of the greater good of a precedent that I'm trying to set in this league, and hopefully get more women in positions of, management and coaching teams, coaching staffs within the WNBA.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
No, it makes perfect sense. But the kind of flaw sort of in that is I think part of the reason Becky's move to Las Vegas was so impactful was because of her years of equity in the NBA. Like if Becky Hammon had finished up as the point guard of the New York or the San Antonio Silver Stars and then had taken a head coaching job in the NBA or the WNBA, excuse me, it wouldn't have been that big of a deal. But because she was seen as a potential, real or perceived, a potential head coach in the NBA, it made the acquisition of her to the WNBA and the Las Vegas Aces significantly bigger. Like I can't, she was with Washington. I'm not positive where she's at right now. I think she's with Dallas. But if Christy Tolliver went to the WNBA next year to become a head coach, it wouldn't have the same impact that Becky Hammon had because Becky had that equity.
Yeah.
And you guys bring up Dawn. I think Dawn might get a run. Like at least in terms of like conversations, like I think you're going to start seeing Dawn Staley's name mentioned as an NBA coaching candidate.
As long as she's allowed to continue to wear Gucci on the sidelines, if that's in her contract, she might make that move. But yeah, I think she's proven herself to be the type of coach that I think could really translate to the NBA. I think players would really listen to her as an expert and as an ex-player herself. And I agree, Damien. I think she might get that call, at least for the conversation. I don't know how soon she would get up, but I think the conversation is, that's kind of.
And to your point earlier, Olivia, it's a bit of a double-edged sword because it's great that she's getting that opportunity, but how do you build up your own league when that's not the goal? The goal is to get to the NBA. Like you want to get eventually to the point where somebody like Dawn Staley is like, man, WNBA, I'd love to coach there. NBA, that's their own thing, but I'd love to, do that. And that's not where the league is right now. So how do you get there if that's never the goal?
Well, I think the biggest.
Go ahead, Damien.
No, you go ahead. Sorry.
I was just going to say, I think it comes down to a coach and maybe multiple coaches giving up, like I said, some of that notoriety, maybe that paycheck, that visibility to do it because of what could come behind them for the future. There are a lot of people in history who gave up big paychecks and all that stuff because they were trying to create a precedent, trying to create opportunities for future generations. I don't know if Dawn or if anyone else is really thinking about it that way, but I feel like that's the only way that you're going to get the WNBA to be on par. It's going to be somebody having to sacrifice. And
so is it more, but would it be more impactful for the next generation of women to have Dawn coaching in the WNBA versus the NBA? Because I feel like it might be more impactful, because the sad reality in this is when we do power rankings of the three entities we're talking about, it's not NBA, WNBA, college. It's NBA, college, WNBA.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And before even that, it's playing overseas and then WNBA.
Right. And that's like, clearly the league doesn't know how to fix it. I think the Becky Hammond move is important. I think they're doing a lot of things that are helping, like fantasy is a part of what they're doing. Like what's the daily draft stuff, like the FanDuel stuff. That's a part of what they're doing moving forward. I think that's going to help with popularity. You've already seen an increase in viewers in the WNBA draft. You saw a huge increase in the NCAA tournament. Now, will all of that translate to when the ball goes up in the air next month is the biggest question. And generally it does, but you'll see increases of like 20%. You'll see 18% more people. You see those numbers, and then, May will come around and it'll be like, yeah, the WNBA audience grew by 2.5%. And it's like, yo, what happened to the other 18 that were watching South Carolina and UConn in the national championship?
Yeah, and I wish I could say you need to be doing these things, and we all had a clear, like XYZ, 1, 2, 3, ABC, do these things and people are going to watch. But I don't know what it is. It's like we said, it's been 26, 27 years. Why haven't we figured this out? I do think some of the things that you mentioned have helped get eyeballs on the NCAA tournament and, like you said, the draft and things. But I don't know. I'm clearly a female fan. I'm not a bettor. I don't care about FanDuel and DraftKings and all that stuff. I wonder whether or not the people who are participating in that are the same guys and girls, I guess, who do it for all the other male professional leagues. Like if you like to bet on anything. If you're a bettor, like you're into it. But I don't know if even doing that will translate long-term anyway for the WNBA, because I don't know if that many women are into that kind of viewing because you're betting. But I don't want to be sexist. Do you know anything about that? Is that a thing for us?
Well, we don't know yet. Like I don't think that's something that we know. One gripe I have, Casey, Olivia, that I've always had is, and I think they've gotten better with this in very, very recent years, is the league has never really truly, they've been scared to present a certain type of image. Like if you look, you can go back and find this very odd photo shoot that the WNBA did where, I mean, I know of it because Kara's in it. Diana Taurasi is in it. Like, there are these stars of the league, and they are caked out in makeup, and their hair's done, and they got all of this stuff on. And then, like, yo, that ain't Diana. Diana ain't gonna do that. Like, what is that? And they wanted to present this certain image of the league. Becky Hammond was a very good ball player. Very, very good. But let's not ignore the really important component to Becky Hammond. She looked a certain way. Simone Augustus is one of the coldest basketball players I've ever seen. But you didn't see her all over the WNBA commercials because she had dreadlocks and tattoo sleeves on both of her arms.
Right.
She was openly gay and had no problem talking about it. And that wasn't the image that the league wanted to push out there. That changed a lot with Brittany Griner. That's changed a lot in recent years. But the league has failed in years past they've tried to present this image of like girl basketball players instead of like, yo, these are women who play ball. Some of them wear makeup. Some of them don't. Some of them like men. Some of them like women. Some of them are married to men. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, this is our league. Embrace it for what it is. I don't think the audience could embrace it because the league couldn't embrace it. The league was scared of who they were.
I agree with you. And I think that's the challenge with most things that are geared towards women and they have like a male complement. It's, you go to a hardware store and you go to the girls section for a hammer and it's pink. Or you go to the baseball game and it's wine night and they give you the pink version of the Giants hats. If you're into basketball, you don't need the pinkification of it to get interested in it. You're already a fan. So let's just see these players play. Let them be strong. Let them sweat. Let them foul each other. Let them have tattoos, whatever the realities of who they are. That's what people will be attracted to, the authenticity. And I think you're right. Early on, and I think it happens with a lot of leagues, women's professional leagues, is when you see the players when they're not on the court, it is a ton of makeup and it's posing. And I think even as a woman, if you are feminine, you want that opportunity to be able to display that and not just be seen as, on the court and sweaty. So when you get into photo shoots, they do like to girl it up a bit. I mean, I do. I got caked up makeup right now, but when it's time to play, I put my shoes on, my cleats on, whatever, and I get after it. And I think the WNBA has been bad and other leagues have been bad at kind of showing how you can be both of those things and be an amazing female athlete. But don't think that for female fans or even players that you have to make it like the little girl playing in the pink version of this and that. Just tell the story authentically of the players that are on the court, the field, whatever, and let them genuinely display their personality through the way that they look. Because when they look different, when you represent all these different kind of personalities and genres and races and what, you're inviting other people. You're inviting a variety of people to want to take part in this brand. Yeah. But I think that's what's been challenging for them as a whole.
The biggest part of what both of you guys say there is just let these players be themselves authentically. Just let them be authentic. Because whether it is Simone Augustus or it's Liz is who she is. That is not a fabricated Tia Cooper. That's who she is. Dejanay Carrington, that's who she is, right? And if they want to wear nails and makeup on the court, let them do that. Don't say
or in Liz's case, if she wants to wear nothing, that's what she does.
But when you think about it, it's like we said, it's been 20-something years. It's a new generation of young people out here that are not willing to be kind of held down to these old standards that we had. Sure. They all have their own social media platforms where you get to see them in their real life. So the WNBA at this point, I think, is trying to embrace those things so they can tell an authentic story about their players and their league. And even if they did want to embrace it, we know the realities of these players because we can have access to them without the league getting involved. We know the truth of who they are.
Right. Absolutely. I still think, to maybe put a bow on this, I still think the biggest issue that they're going to have to figure out is the time of the season. I do believe that. I think that does a lot because I even think, the movement that they had last year with, the guys kind of supporting them with the hoodies. I mean, the hoodie thing was a great call to have the orange together because it became a thing now. I had to go get me an orange WNBA hoodie. Like it was big time. And, you have LeBron and you have guys where I'm not sure they were doing this.
Don't forget who started that. That was Kobe.
Absolutely. Yeah. I don't know. I don't remember, so I don't want to speak ill because I know Kings came to Monarchs games and stuff like that. But the support that you get, not just sitting at the games, but I'm gonna wear their gear or I'm a tag her on Instagram and Twitter and all this other stuff that you get from the NBA players. I think that's a good thing. They're helping. You know what I mean? They're helping. They're like, man, I know the rub that they would get from me just mentioning them in a Twitter post. Let me do it. This is real basketball. I'm gonna go sit courtside at their game. It's big, and I think that helps, and it's all helping. But the time of the season, that's time of the season and the pay, so they don't have to go overseas. Those are the two things.
I'm glad
those. Because if you flip those, you could if you change the pay, you could probably change the time of the season.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad that you mentioned the fact that a lot of NBA players have embraced the WNBA, and I think the orange sweatshirt thing, that branding really took off. They need to continue to do a lot of that. And I think if you see orange sweatshirts now, you assume it's a WNBA sweatshirt. Like they just really kind of nailed it with that, and they have to continue to do campaigns like that. And I'm grateful that guys like Chris Paul and those folks really embrace the league and they talk about it. They take their daughters to the games and buy tickets, and they want to see it improve. Because I think men are the majority fans of the WNBA. They if you like basketball, maybe you want to watch So I like that they're doing that. And like I said, I agree with you about the timing and the pay. those are the big issues. But I'm hopeful that will change too. I'm so full of hope. Oh my goodness.
Well, it's funny. You're so full of hope, and like every couple of seconds, you go into witness protection program on the Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook Live. It's very funny. Like I wish there was a way I could hit a button and it changes your voice to go like this when you go dark like that. Did you?
Sorry, go ahead.
Did you see or hear what Cam Newton said?
Oh boy!
About. I'm just curious your opinion on the type of woman Cam Newton wants in his life.
Yes, I saw it. I was on Twitter when I think it kind of blew up, so I saw like the immediate responses. And of course, I had my mini drafts, and I was like, "No, delete, don't say that. Oh, I'm going to rate them." I consider this show to be my Twitter feed. This is my chance to get out all of the things, but I've had time to think about it, so I don't tweet something stupid right away. I'm like, hold it on, keep it for D'Lo and Casey. I'm not surprised by Cam Newton's comments.
Mm-hmm.
I like that Cam is an individual. Like he was coming out looking like a granny and a grandpa, and he dressed wild. I like his style. But yeah, I wasn't surprised by the comments, but I'm also like, we all have our preferences.
Mm-hmm.
If that's what you like, good luck. I think what you like is trash. I think it's pretty weak ass of you to be like, I want to know a woman who knows when to be quiet. I'm sure whatever woman you're with would want you to know when to shut up, and when to shut up would be not in that interview. Don't say that. That would have been appropriate for him to not say those things. But I also think
your woman wants a man who doesn't wear a blouse to a post-game press conference also. So
who doesn't wear a romper?
Who doesn't wear a
romper?
I love Cam too.
I do too.
But yeah, he said, now a woman for me is handling your own, but knowing how to cater to a man's needs. And I think a lot of times when you get that aesthetic of like, I'm a boss B, I'm this, I'm that. It's like, no, baby, but can you cook? Now, I think we've all learned from me that I don't know how to cook. I'm not that kind of woman. I was playing in the street with my dad and my brother. My mom was not making me sit in the kitchen with her. But again, overall, if that's what you want, good luck with finding all of those things. A woman who handles her own, who's a boss, who also stays quiet most of the time, apparently, and isn't needy and wanting, but can cater to you at the same time. We all have our wish list. I wrote down the qualities in a man that I wanted and put it under my pillow and manifested it. Yeah. Maybe Cam's doing the same thing.
Yeah, and with Cam, you said it perfectly. There was a lot of people upset with what he said, and I just looked at it. That's what he wants. That's what he's looking for, and to quote but not quote completely what the great philosopher Sean Carter once said, "What you eat don't make me." And if you know, you know. Like if that's what Cam likes, that's what he likes. I didn't think Cam said it in a way that said all women have to be like this, or if you're a man and you don't want your woman to be like this, then you're a square or something like. He didn't. He said, for me, this is my preference. This is what I like, and yes, whatever. It also reiterated to me something that bothers me is like, you get these people who are rich and famous and these athletes, and they say something, and for whatever reason, we take it as if it's law. And I'm not calling Cam dumb, but like they're like, oh, he's super smart. Like we do this with Kanye. Just because Kanye talks a lot doesn't mean like he's super smart. And we don't have to take what he says as this is how society should be. That's his opinion. He's flawed just like everybody else. And that's how he sees it. But so many times when these athletes and famous people speak, we look at it as this is how all of society is, or this is how all society should be. No, that's not the case.
It's not.
We'll come back. Hold that thought. Hold that thought right there. Don't forget it. Write it down. We're going to come back. Olivia Christian ain't going nowhere. It's D'Lo and KC. We're with you till the top of the 4 o'clock hour here on Sacramento's #1 sports station, ESPN 1320. That's good stuff right there. That's good stuff. That's good stuff. Good stuff. I couldn't push the brake anymore. That's why I had to.
I totally forgot. Sorry.
No, I like we were rolling, so I wanted to go to 28, but there's no other 28. Like we got to get out.
Just want you to know it's very hot in this room right now. It's very
Is it? Do you have air conditioner there, or is it one of those things where we don't do air conditioner here?
Oh, we have air conditioning.
What's the temperature there? Because it's like raining and cold here.
It's actually cool. It's like 70. But this room gets like all of the afternoon heat. So I'm not typically down here. That's why I'm usually upstairs.
Do you so is that your room? Like your bedroom? Do you have curtains up there or something to cover that up?
They're up top.
Oh, okay. And
it like rolls down.
Yeah. Okay. Because that would be 5:45 a.m. Like, hey man, calm down.
That's really like that's a boss ass spot you got right there.
That's right.
I know.
That's a boss spot right there.
So it's really dope.
Almost like Tommy Egan spot.
That's kind of what I thought.
It's just they're building a new condo across the street from me. So like Staples is not that far. Like I can't really see it because it's not really that tall, but they're gonna build a new an apartment complex, I think, next to me. So it's gonna obscure some of the views that I have right now. But they start at like 5:45 in the morning with a beep, beep, beep.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, oh my gosh. I've never seen more than 3 guys out there. I mean, I don't know how long this is going to take. I don't know if there's 3 guys. And they stop at 3:00, which is perfect for this show.
I was going to say they was probably trying to get out because it's hot.
Did you guys see, probably didn't, I'm the only one who saw this, that once again, Sacramento can't get anything done. This CalPERS backed out of the building they were going to build in that open lot downtown, the big gaping hole. I guess CalPERS was supposed to build like this huge building, and they've been talking about it since 2006, and they finally officially backed out. So now we have a hole in the ground.
Is it Ron Burkle's building? Because that would add up.
Yeah, it sounds like it, right?
Jeez.
But once again, can't get nothing. How you got a big hole in the front of your downtown? Don't make no damn sense.
Can you just make it a big pool? Just fill it in?
Biggest community pool ever.
Just a hole.
So you're not hearing a lot of noise in the background?
No, we heard somebody skirt off one time, but that's about it.
Yeah, that's all we heard. Yeah.
But we're used to that. People skirt off, ambulances in the background. It's commonplace here.
Those are Jason Jones interviews. Jesse said.
I was watching one before and it was like, oh, hold on.
Jason had one of the wildest interviews in history.
There's a car horn.
Made appearances from kids. I mean, the Sean Cunningham outside the Chinese restaurant. That was a wild one.
That was a call-in, right? He was on his phone.
No, he was on the stream.
And Hell's Angels was behind him or something.
Yeah, he was on the stream, just hanging out outside a restaurant, and like, hey, Sean, do you need to get out of there? Are you safe?
I feel like I should be more adventurous then. If you guys are cool with it, I'll go to the pool and hang out by the pool and do the show. And
let's go. I feel like we should get you a microphone though.
I need to test. I have a microphone. I need to test.
Especially since we do this every week. Yeah.
Yeah.
It should be easy, but
doesn't look like yours, but the one I have might work. But I should test it with you.
Oh. As long as it's comfortable. I mean, we do this for an hour, and at some point we're going to want you to do it for 4. So.
Gulp.
You can host the show. Or co-host the show.
We can talk about all the things, girls. Let's talk about our periods. Oh my gosh.
We're coming back. Hang on. Ricky Rose, 1 week from Sunday.
Yeah, man.
Outfest. Cesar Chavez Park. Rick Ross will be here.
Yeah, man.
That'll be
And wait, we got to talk off the show. We got to lock that down, but we got to talk off the show.
Yeah, we got to Black Bottles 916. If you're on the road, man, we gotta get this figured out. Figure out what we're doing next Sunday, 1 week from this upcoming Sunday when Rose is in town. We were talking about Cam Newton and some of the things he had to say. Did you want to cap that off? Well, I didn't want to leave that. I had to cut you off. So
that's all right. I wanted to agree with Casey that it shouldn't really. When people make statements like that, whether or not they're a movie star or an athlete, we don't have to always react so quick. I can't believe they said these things, or take it as them saying that the whole world needs to operate this way. When I was on Twitter and the news kind of broke and the video came out, and a lot of women who work in sports were responding because Cam has had issues in the past.
Yeah.
What
he said in the past that was more egregious than what he said.
Yeah. The other one was around a female reporter asking him about, running routes. And he's like, oh, it's so weird to me. It's funny that a woman's asking me about running routes. She's like, well, that's my job.
Crazy.
So that is something that I could get angry about. But him talking about what his preference is for a wife, I don't really care about that. So I'm not going to get livid about hearing misogynistic comments from an athlete or anyone really at this point. I've lived long enough to know that there's some dudes out there who like that. And some won't cater to a guy like that.
There's a lot of them out there. There's so many to choose from, especially in the sports world. I stay as far away as I possibly can from this dude because I believe he is one of the biggest pieces of garbage that ever existed. But I saw your boy Whitlock had something.
Oh, man. Come on, man.
Oh, man.
Whose man is this?
I have no idea. Look. The delegation met. He ain't ours.
No, man. You talk about cutting people before their contract is up earlier in the NFL. Man, we let him go for 4 years left on the contract. We got him up out of there.
We let Whitlock go in the 80s. Like he been cut for decades. But he said something about Disney. Yeah, Disney has feminized sports because they took over ESPN and they're, I guess, forcing all of these women to be on the air and talk sports because, what a foreign concept that is.
I guess Whitlock's mom, Cam Newton's mom, I'd like to hear from them. Like, what happened? What did you tell these boys? But Whitlock, I think, is...
Cam is... I think Cam just has a way of thinking. Whitlock is damaged. Like, I think...
Oh, yeah.
I think a black woman hurt Jason Whitlock, and he's never got over it.
I agree. Something deep down happened to him in his youth, and he's held it against black women and then eventually black men for the rest of his life. I think there's a lot of self-hate potentially going on, but there's a lot of money to be made by black people who will say things like this about other black people. You're going to have like one or two, 3 or 4 who are in every generation. You have a couple of them out there, like, what our problem is. And it's like, bro.
You got Candace Owens, Herschel Walker, and Jason Whitlock. You good.
Whitlock paid. Whitlock is paid.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah. They all are. To tap dance and do that. But Jason Whitlock, the fact that he was talking about Disney, this whole thing about Republicans talking about Disney right now, and they're trying to turn our kids into this and that, and they're trying to feminize sports, which I think is so weird, as if women weren't involved in sports forever. We've always been there. Maybe we weren't coaches. We weren't allowed to be in the locker room. We weren't allowed to be reporters or broadcasters or commentators, but it's not as if we weren't playing sports. With Cheryl Miller and Billie Jean King and Wilma Rudolph, we have legends in every area of sports. So women have always been there, and they gave birth to some of the men that you love. So women have existed. Disney suddenly trying to balance it. I don't know why that freaks people out. It doesn't make any sense, but it's an opportunity for them to, one, create content, create controversy, and get you talking about them, which is what we're doing. But I mean, it's important to pull that out, to talk about it to a certain extent, because we have to remind people of, like, this isn't some new thing that is happening. It's always another opportunity to create chaos.
This is such a phenomenal line. How damaged is Jason Whitlock? Quote, they do it through their little key catchphrase: diversity, inclusion, and equity. They call it diversity, equity, and inclusion. I call it diversity, inclusion, and equity, because it's DIE. It's the death of men. It's the assassination of men.
Oh my gosh. You know,
Child.
Look, man,
Lord have mercy.
The crazy thing about it is I try not to shame nobody. That's not what I do. But damn it, LeVar was right. What LeVar said was spot on.
Yeah.
Whitlock can't talk to me about nothing.
Nope.
I ain't even gonna repeat it, but LeVar was right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there are names for Whitlock that we won't use.
You can't talk to me about nothing but one thing.
It's disappointing. Every now and then something pops up on your Twitter feed and there's a new random company or person or community that he's mad at, and he gets a certain community riled up. Yeah, you're right. They are trying to make us all women. They want to assassinate men. They want to assassinate men. We're trying to kill all men by letting another woman have a job sit next to Mark Jones. Mark Jones and Doris Burke can't be on the show together.
Now, what we want is another mediocre dude doing the job.
Yeah.
Because Lord knows ESPN has a very long history of hiring them. So maybe hire a skilled woman hire someone who can actually do the job.
Yeah.
Whitlock is wild, man. He is a wild dude. And I get and as we, talking about, this all started with a conversation about Becky Hammon with the Spurs being eliminated yesterday, with her heading off, to Las Vegas, because there are so many first, like you see this is weird, like LinkedIn I'm never on Facebook, like ever. But the fascinating thing is LinkedIn has turned into like this like corporate version of Facebook where people are arguing about the same things. And you'll see someone say, congratulations to, the first Black woman to ever ... Oh, why can't it be just congratulations to the first woman? Oh, why can't it just be congratulations on the first, the accomplishment? Why does it always have to be Black and woman and this and that? And while I'll never, ever reply, the response is always the same. There's still too many firsts to be had. And when we're talking about Becky Hammon and the first head coach in the NBA, and we're talking about, Doris Burke, revered, not necessarily the first, but really the only, certainly first, like full-time there in that position on a game-to-game basis. Like she's the only one. And because it's not normal, you still have those, because it's not normal and still relatively new, you still have those, you still have that group of people who sit around and think, no, this is ours. They're taking what's ours.
Yeah.
They took my sports. They took my Sports Center. They took ESPN. They took this from me. They took that from me. And there's still this ownership to their viewing habits. They believe they own their viewing habits and who is on those screens and who, talks to them about, games or whatever. And we're miles and miles and miles away from that stuff being wiped out.
Yeah. It makes me think about what we're talking about with Cam and his preference for the type of woman that he wants in his life. In terms of being a sports fan, who you like to hear, I feel like, we have our favorites. Who's calling a game for the Kings, or who you listen to on the radio when the Giants are playing. As if you grow up in a sport, you have people that you learn to love and that you're used to hearing and seeing. And then when new people come in, it can be like, I don't know what's happening. This person stinks. Where's my old guy? And now you're trying to bring a woman in here. And it's really about, breaking up the norm, something that you're used to. And what you do is get upset because you don't have that old thing that you used to have. And I don't get mad at people for that. I understand, like you have your, I think we were talking about Hubie Brown months ago or weeks ago. Like I like Hubie Brown. He's like a grandpa on the show and he pulls back stats and data from the 60s and the 70s. And I like that kind of thing.
Now see, look here.
At the same time, to be mad just because someone is a woman. Maybe you don't like Doris Burke's voice or you don't like Van Gundy's silliness. Like I understand different things. Like you want to hear a certain thing but just being mad because that person is Black or because that person is a woman or whatever other thing they could be. That's the issue that I have.
Right.
That is the thing when I have ownership. You're supposed to look and sound like me. I only want this thing to stay this way always. But, in terms, I say this about being a fan, I don't feel like you are beholden to a certain way to be a fan. If you want to paint your face purple and go out to the game and run around nude with the Kings logo on you, go ahead. That's the kind of fan that you want to be. And if you want to hear a certain play-by-play person or commentator, I get that. But to be mad at progress, be mad at people creating opportunities for other voices to be heard, for future generations to grow up with that diversity, there's an issue that you have there. Yeah. And equity and equality can feel like discrimination when you're used to having things on your way all the time. Mm-hmm. But it really is just about creating opportunities for people who haven't had them in the past, legally weren't able to have them in the past.
All right. And I just think it's so ridiculous that in a situation, especially something like sports, like to be upset with, with women getting their opportunity to have their perspective heard or their voice heard. Look, man, this show is prided on and originated from the fact of like, we felt like there were people in this city that they shut us out, shut people that have viewpoints like us and spoke like us, shut us out. You know what I mean? And we were able to give a different perspective. Nobody's saying it's better or, the only way it should be or anything else like that, but don't shut it out. Don't give a platform. And, having women on calling sports games and working in the sports world, they play sports too. Like, yeah, absolutely. Like, why wouldn't they be able to talk about it? Like, at the end of the day, it's not rocket science. It's not open heart surgery. It's basketball. It's not that hard to understand the concept of a pick and roll. So the fact that only Jason Whitlock can talk about that is asinine.
Yeah.
Olivia Christian with us. On a lighter note, you're a big baseball fan. We're a couple games into the season here. Are you pretty hyped baseball's back?
I am. I think last week you asked me, like, who do I have going to the World Series? And I was like, well, yes, I need to see a couple games.
A couple games in.
I think I'm going to go with the Yankees.
Of course.
Did you see the Yankees game last night?
I saw part of it. I did see the call.
Oh,
you saw the call?
Oh, I was about to drop it for you if you want to.
Just play it one time for us.
Hicks. Here's the 1-0. Swung on, there it goes. Deep left center. That ball is high. It is far. It is gone. But caught. Caught by Tapia. Boy, I thought that was gone.
Did he say Jesse caught the ball?
I think he did.
Tapia? Jesse caught the ball.
I think he did.
That is spectacular. That is one of he's normally good for a couple of those a year. Like the fact that we've got a gem like that this early in the season is such a win.
That's hilarious. That's hilarious.
Funny. It's painful because as a fan, you're watching, you're like, yes, maybe they have a perspective that I don't have. It looks like he's a good fan.
But check it out. Imagine, because he's the radio guy.
Right.
So you can't even see it. So you just hear it. You're like, oh, we tied it up. Let's go. Go on. Let's go. Wait, I don't hear the crowd. What's going on? Oh, man. But Olivia, I'm with you. Giants, Yankees, World Series. Let's go.
Yes.
I like the Yankees. I do.
Wow. You each picked your favorite team. What a stunning revelation here on D-Lo and KC.
On a collision course.
Kenny and Olivia picked their favorite teams to go to the World Series.
It's going to be a fight. It'll be a fight.
Yeah.
Did you watch Casey, did you watch any of the MLB games on Apple TV last Friday? That's the new thing.
Didn't. Yeah, I did. I don't have Apple TV. Can I can't watch it without being subscribed to Apple TV, right?
Yeah, it's like $4. You subscribe to everything else.
I didn't know it was that cheap. I might sign up. I might never watch it. Just like I'm subscribed.
There's not that much on it.
The All Black app that I never. I just realized I'm subscribed to that. I don't know.
We got to support.
So yeah, I don't watch any of this.
It's like Tidal. I don't really want Tidal. I want to use Apple Music. It's way easier, but.
They got those. They got like movies and shows like they they're not. Tyler Perry, I don't think he has any shows on there, but it's shows like that, like the president show.
They're like knockoff version. They're UA shows. They're unauthorized authentics. It's not Martin. It's not the Fresh Prince. Yeah, it's not that, but
yeah. So I'm subscribed to them. I might as well subscribe to Apple TV for $5.
I actually think Apple has a lot of good shows. I like
the morning show is legit. I love the morning show.
I like the first season. I didn't like the second season.
I think that's the only show that I watched. I haven't watched that.
You've never seen any Ted Lasso?
No, I think the only show I've watched is the morning show.
Oh,
the only Apple TV show I watched.
There's a couple good things on there. I really like that. There's a show called Severance. I'm just gonna put that out there. Watch Severance if you get it.
So they were
in the office, but Severance is really good.
They were talking about that in the chat earlier, and I'm not familiar with it, but they were talking about it in the chatty house earlier. So I'll have to, okay, got my attention. I'll have to peep that. The Apple TV is unique because it's interesting because they've got the baseball thing now. We've heard their names tied to the NFL here for quite some time, particularly for Sunday Ticket.
Mm-hmm.
But the broadcast team caught a little heat.
Yeah. I didn't watch it. I did watch them on Friday. I forgot about Apple having those games on Friday night, but then I went to Twitter because I was watching the Yankees and I'm like, oh, what else is happening in the league? And I went on Twitter and people were going after them. This is terrible. They're talking about everything except baseball, talking about uniforms and cleats and what they watched on TV. And
I swear to God, that sounds like D-Lo and KC.
Throwing some WrestleMania news, and they would have been D-Lo and KC. Sign us up. Sounds like my kind of broadcast.
The difference is they're supposed to literally be talking about the game in front of them. You guys are talking about general things, but apparently, because again, I didn't watch it. People were really upset, and I think baseball fans they're tough because they're very stuck in their ways. Yep. They like to hear certain people talk. And have a little bit of silence even. Let's just hear the crack of the bat and people cracking peanut shells. But apparently last week, a lot of issues with the women that were on the broadcast, even though they were experienced reporters, some of them anyway, with different teams. So there's some challenge around that. But I just think what I heard really was that Apple was trying to get different type of commentators on there in order to attract more fans to baseball. So they wanted to. I'm sorry?
Smart. That's exactly what they should be doing. Nobody cares that Tommy DeSella, he's batting .264 in the month of May, and he hasn't been seeing the curveball as of late. And let me tell you about Tommy DeSella because he reminds me of Joe Thomas back in 1922. Boy, that guy. Let's stay here. Tell me what shoes you're wearing. I'd much rather hear that. Tell me what shoes you're wearing.
I think it's a combination. I think one, if you're getting, 60, 70-year-old people, they're going to reflect to the people that they are going to talk about it, the people that they grew up watching and comparing. So young people will hate that. But if you're not young people, go ahead. Sorry.
Are they on Apple TV? Wouldn't you immediately think if you're on Apple TV, you're a streaming only product? If my grandpa, God rest his soul, was still with us and I told him, hey, your boy Jeff Gordon, your NASCAR race that you want to watch, it's on this app. He'd be like, oh, cool. Put on Bonanza or whatever show is on TV because I ain't trying to figure out this Apple TV. No, I'll set it up for you, Grandpa. He ain't trying to figure that out.
Yeah.
No,
I would think it's a younger audience watching on Apple TV.
Well, that's the thing. I think they're trying to figure it out. One, it's going to be baseball fans because some of those teams, when they have games on Apple, that's the only place that you can watch it. So their grandchildren are going to show them how to see it on Apple TV. But I think what Casey was saying, that maybe that it needs to be a combo. It can't be 70-year-olds talking about 1922. Maybe they could be younger and also open up the conversation. Like you said, talk about, who made their chain. Did they get it from Jacob or, their cleats or whatever? Yeah. And kind of have those kind of conversations so you don't lose older fans because that's what the anchoring the MLB right now, but you do want to have a younger feel and invite folks into the game that feel locked out, because a lot of times baseball conversation is around stats from generations ago, and you can't get into that conversation because you don't know. You'll just kind of turn the game off.
Yep. I agree.
That's Olivia Christian. Her podcast, The Game Last Night, will be coming back soon. We'll have some announcements to make regarding Olivia too, but apparently not for a while.